everybody. For these problems, I'm going to try to use percent tables, or they're also known as percent diagrams. You might see them in our reading, we see them, but you might see them in other places too. So let's just try to figure this out. What is 65% of 30,000? So in order to use a percent diagram or a percent table, you start off with some quantity that you know. Well, 30,000 is considered a whole, so 100% corresponds to 30,000. But we don't want 100%, we want to figure out what 65% is. So what we can do is we can work off of this to get to eventually to 65. How about if I do 10%? What's 10%? Well, how did you get from 100 to 10? What did you multiply or divide by to get from 100 to 10? Didn't you divide by 10? 100 divided by 10 is 10. So you got to do the same thing to the 30,000. You got to divide the 30,000 by 10. You divide 30,000 by 10, you just lop off a 0, right? Okay, so we got to 10%. Can we get to 60% now? How did we get from 10 to 60? Didn't we multiply by 6? So you got to do the same thing to the 3,000. You got to multiply the 3,000 by 6. So here we divided by 10. Here we multiplied by 6. So 3,000 times 6, I think, is 18,000. So we got 60%, but we want to get to 65. Can I do a 5%? 5%. Can we work off the 10? If 10% is 3,000, going from 10 to 5, you divide by 2, right? 10 divided by 2 is 5. So divide the 3,000 by 2. That's 1,500. Okay, so now our final goal is 65%. So what do we have to do? Well, we can take 60%, which is 18,000, and we can add the 5%, which is 1,500. So I think that's 1950, isn't it? Yeah. 500. Okay. I mean, you also could have just used your the percent equation. Remember that? P over 100 equals R over Q. And you could have just put 65 over 100 equals, we don't know the result, over 30,000. You could have done that as an alternative, but I want you to do it in a table for this case, all right? And it's pretty cool because we didn't even use a calculator. If you think about it, we really did it all off the top of our heads. That's pretty cool. So what about the second one? What percent 12.5 is of 500? What percent is 12.5 of 500? What percent is 125 of 500? Okay, this guy. Well, let's see. We know that 100% corresponds to the 500, right? But we want to get down to 125 here. We want 125 to correspond to a certain percentage. It's okay if you're working on the right side or the left side. It doesn't matter. That way we worked out the left side. This time we're going to work out the right. Let's get to 100, guys. If you go from 500 to 100 to divide by 5, right? So do the same thing here. Divide by 5. So 100 divided by 5, I believe, is 20. So it's 20% corresponds to 100. That makes sense, right? Can you then tell me what we want to get to? We want to get to 125 over here, right? So let's go down to 25. How did we get from 100 to 25? We divided by 4, is that right? So 20 divided by 4 is 5%. So 5% corresponds to 25, but we want 125, right? We want 125 over here. So what do we have to do? We have to add the percentage that was for 100 and the percentage that was for 25, and I think that gives you 25%. So 125 is 25% of 500. So you're probably going, ugh, but it was so much easier just to use this formula. Yeah, you could have done that too, but I want you to use the percent tables, okay? Okay, how about this one? What quantity is 36 15% of? So 15% corresponds to 36. That's what that's saying, right? You want to know what's the 100%, right? So we want to get from 15% to 100%. Can we go to 5%? How do we go from 15 to 5? Divide by 3. Do the same thing there. Divide by 3. 36 divided by 3 is 12. All right, but we want 100%, right? How do we get from 5 to 100? We multiply by 20. So what do we do here? We multiply by 20. And 12 times 20 is 240. So 36 is 15% of 240. Okay, kind of getting it? We could have done the table, the equation. We could have went 15 over 100 equals 36 over Q. We could have done that and solved for Q. Okay, I'm just giving you the alternative. Okay, what percentage is 450 of 100? What percentage is 4? It's bigger than 100%, right? So 100% corresponds to the 100. We want to get to 450 down here. So we want to eventually get to 450. Can I get to 50? How did I get from 100 to 50? I divided by 2. So the 100% divided by 2 is 50%. Okay, can we get to 400, you guys? Can we get to 400 over here? We can work off the top. To go from 100 to 400, we multiply by 4. So we got to multiply 100% by, that's 400, right? 100% by 4 is 400. So how do we get to 450? That's our goal, right? Find the percentage of 450. So what do we got to do? We got to add the 50% plus the 400% equals 450%. It is big, a lot more than 100%, right? So it's 450%. Okay? Or we could have just used the equation P over 100 equals 450 over the original amount of 100. Could have done that. But it's another case where you didn't even use a calculator. It's pretty cool. I guess maybe you wouldn't have to with that either, but this is how you use percent diagrams or percent tables. So I hope that helps. You got to practice these a little. They're kind of like a puzzle to me. Like I want to go from here to here. What should I do in the interim? Okay, hope it helps.